We're back.
All right.
Just picking up where we left off. I think your process, start small, focus on, one thing at a time, create accountability. I was saying, in education, a big thing when it comes to teaching lessons is you can't just tell people stuff and expect them to retain it. You have to create meaning. Okay? So I can tell you as many times as I want that, eating a healthy diet, eating a healthy diet, focusing on, protein intake, and, maintaining a calorie deficit is, the way to lose body fat, maintain a healthy weight, lifestyle, that sort of thing. I can tell you that. Doesn't mean
Right.
you're going to listen. Doesn't mean you're going to do anything with it. But I think what you have here is you're creating like some sort of meaning where now people take it to heart and they're thinking, oh, like I can do this. I can walk down this aisle and pick my own food and take it home and cook it, and and I feel good. I'm not hungry because you can. We've all inhaled a bag of Doritos, and you're still probably
Right.
hungry at the end
Yeah.
because there's no nutritional value, and it's mindless eating. And I
Hmm.
think that's something else that I'm sure you could touch on better than I could. Is just food as like a reward or food as just this boredom kind of thing. And I think that's where a lot of people get into trouble. Is oh, like I did great at the gym today. I'm gonna have a slice of cake, or I'm watching TV and I'm gonna snack on Cheez-Its. Like just it's something to do. It's turned into something to do as opposed to fuel, which is what it's supposed to
Right.
be.
Yeah, man. We spend a lot of time. You know, I tell them to do the list. Most programs you may get handed a grocery list.
Hmm.
Say, here's your grocery list. You can only shop off of this thing. But I make them do it,
Sure.
so that they build confidence in themselves and efficacy, right? And as they do that, they start to pay attention. And that's the biggest thing is that are you even aware of what is happening? Are you aware that you are going to uh, what your serving sizes look like? Are you
Hmm.
aware of the behaviors that are happening? Are you aware of the thought process you have behind that choice? Like I tell them all the time, like if you're going to eat something that you may try to deem as a bad food, you need to understand that like you can choose that 100%, and as long as that you're understanding and paying attention that I am choosing this because I want it
Sure.
and I'm going to have some of it. That's totally different than if you were just to mindlessly eat something and not think. Really, the only thing you're going to think about is
Not
after the
think
fact.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and when we can approach things in that manner, where we're paying attention, we're choosing, we're actively engaging in our behaviors,
Hmm.
we can break down and we can build up whatever we want around our habits, around our lifestyle, any of that.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% correct. I mean, look, I always love to use myself as an example because I'm not perfect. Look, I love grabbing a beer and a slice of pizza. Like, it's not the end of the world. But look,
Right.
I came home. I taught. I drove home for an hour. I grabbed the Jolly Rancher because I wanted one. But again, it's not like I'm going in and I'm like having one every day, and I'm going to have one after this podcast. I was just like, you know what, like I in my soul wanted a Jolly Rancher, so I
Right.
went and had one.
Yeah.
And it's not the end of the world, and that's why you said you build this program towards 80-85% you're doing the right things, and that 15-20% is kind of left up to your imagination a little bit. Look, everyone loves an Oreo. So, like,
Yep.
if that's your favorite food, man, like, I'm not going to tell you not to have it, right? It's because then you're not going to listen to me. Then it's just like now you're focusing on taking away. All right, well, you're taking away my favorite food. You're taking away, this and that, as opposed to reprogramming yourself to be like, all right, it's not what I'm taking away. It's what I'm trying to build, and it's what I can have. Again, making the grocery list. You have them do it. So
Hmm.
now, they have a hand in it, an active role, and they see that they're picking and choosing what they're going to eat for that week. And then, it's when people have that active role, and then they're seeing that how their input and they're able to build something for themselves. Again, it creates that a better adherence to the program as opposed to
Hmm.
just here's a list, go get this. eat it.
Yeah, because that stuff works during the 90 days, 6 weeks, the 2 months, or whatever you work with that person. But as soon as you take away that coach or that trainer or whatever it is, it just goes right back to what it was because you're their crutch.
Yeah,
And I try to teach them that I do teach them that, hey, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be here, of course. Like if you need something, let me know. But
yeah,
essentially, I am gone after your 90 days, and you are going to do this on your own. I mean, the last 4 weeks, I give them some more advanced concepts, some things that they can use and apply. However, it's really 4 weeks of taking the training wheels off. I'm just saying, hey, here, go. You're gonna
absolutely.
you're gonna be consistent for the next 4 weeks, and you're gonna see where that gets you.
And that's
And
go
yeah,
ahead. No, finish up.
I was gonna say, and that's where it comes into the play of like, hey, if you need help, ask me for it.
Exactly. And look, and I think you've said it without the exact words that I'm about to say, but I always love to, and again, back when I was working in a gym, working with clients, nutrition was never my main thing. Like I was a big strength guy, tried to build
Right.
around that. Now I know everyone's not going to be a power lifter. That was not what I was trying to turn everyone into. People always hear like, "Oh, you're strength." Well, I don't want to lift like 500 pounds. I was like,
Right.
first of all, you probably won't. But but when it came to nutrition, and I always tried to use the word nutrition as opposed to diet, because to me,
Mm-hmm.
diet has been turned into this word where everything's a fad diet now. Everything has a beginning and an end. And you touched on this, and it's not anyone can lose 15, 20 pounds during that 4, 6, 12 week diet, whatever it is. But if you don't learn anything from it and then you just stop it after the 12 weeks, more likely than not, you're going right back to what you were doing ahead of time. And throughout that process, if all you've done is just deprive yourself of calories, yeah, you've probably lost a decent amount of body fat, but you've probably also lost muscle mass, and now your metabolism is slower. And then when you go back to eating how you did beforehand, now that weight's going to come back and then some. Exactly. And I'm sure you follow, Lane Norton, Bio Lane.
Yeah.
So I love the guy. I think he says some great stuff. And I read something like an article of his where he was saying America doesn't have a weight loss problem because so many people are able to lose weight. We
Yeah.
have a weight regain problem. And what he meant by that was exactly what I just explained. And what you were saying before is that anyone could adhere to, an 8, 12, 15-week diet,
Mm-hmm.
stop, and then regain everything back. And again,
Right.
like we just said, it's usually more so. So yeah, and again, I think that's something that's again very important, and again something I tried to do with my training clients was I was just like, look, you don't want a personal trainer for the rest of your life. I
Right.
I understand it's expensive. I wouldn't want to pay me for the rest of my life. So my goal is to give you all the knowledge that I have, so you can do this on your own. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you every time we are in this gym together, ask me why we're doing something, and if I can't tell you why, and this is a big thing, and Racco and I did a podcast about like picking a trainer, picking a doctor, that kind of thing. If you ever ask a trainer, why am I doing this exercise, and they don't have an answer for you, get a new trainer. It's
Exactly.
just everything should be done with a purpose. And I know that's exactly how you're coming up, with these nutrition plans, logs, that stuff, how you're working with your clients. So yeah, dude, I think that's fucking awesome.
There's a concept, and I see it. You read enough books, you start to see the same things everywhere.
Yeah,
But there's a book called Switch by Chip and Dan, as I believe are their names. They're brothers. Chip and Dan Heath, I believe, is their first names.
sure.
I may be wrong, but anyways, the book's called Switch, and it has to do with like why can some people just start doing the right thing.
Mhm.
And most of the time it comes down to the fact that our brain is essentially divided into two parts. There's
Mhm.
what they termed as the elephant brain, and then there is the rider side of the brain. So the
Rider.
rider is the rider. So the
Oh,
rider
rider,
is on,
rider, rider. Okay.
yeah, yeah. He is on top of the elephant, trying to steer the elephant, right? He thinks he's in control. He's the more logical, systematic side of the brain, whereas the elephant is the emotional side of the brain. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in control of what's happening here. Like, but if the elephant chooses, it can go wherever it wants to, essentially. And so, I try my best, and that's what I really designed this program around, was attacking the feelings or approaching the feelings, the emotional side of things, to create lasting change. Because if you can get someone to tie their emotions into it, and make those connections to the feelings,
Mm-hmm.
they're more likely to continue doing it than if we try to force systems and systematic stuff and logic down their throats. Like,
Yeah.
that's why someone, if you just teach them the basics and you hand them a workout plan or a diet plan and you just shove that logic down their throat, well, logically you should lose weight if you do this.
Well,
It's
yeah,
not
everyone knows that, right?
right. Everyone knows that. Everyone can do that. It's, can you get in touch with their emotional side? And there's another book by Brett Bartholomew. Super. Are you familiar with Brett?
I've heard of him. I'm not. I don't know
Yeah.
if I could like pinpoint any of his work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has a book called, he does a lot around communication. I love
Mhm.
communication. Like, nonviolent communications, one of my favorite things to discuss.
Sure.
And he has a book called Conscious Coaching. And in that, he calls that same concept building buy-in.
Mhm.
And if you can do that with people and help them get in touch with those things, it changes everything if you just chase the feeling. So all the coaching is like, sure, let's talk about, I know you want to lose weight, but why do you want to lose weight? Are you trying to impress someone? Is there a certain thing that you tie to that number on the scale? What's the meaning behind it? What are we
Sure.
really doing here? And when you get to those things and you have people literally drop the layers off of their onion, you start to see some really intense change in people. And
I believe it.
anytime they have a shift, for example, there was this one woman that I was working with in the program. We had a week where we were working on time management, and we focus on booking yourself first in your schedule.
Mhm.
She booked, it was just one day, she booked to get up and go for a walk, just as far as she could get, and she's going to come back and pick up work. And when she did that, she said, I have never done that for myself ever. And it was a very emotional feeling for her. And
It's powerful.
I said, hold on to that very
Yeah,
tightly, because that's what's going to keep you going.
it's true. Yeah, man. Like I said, it's whether it's education, like I said, creating meaning, for the students. Whether it's creating, what do you say, buy-in, right, for
Yeah.
your clients, for your athletes, whatever, whoever it is. Yeah, it's a powerful motivator, man. And it's funny. I wanted to actually touch on something that you were talking about, the elephant and the rider.
Yeah.
I'm also reading a book. It's called Brainwashed, and it's
Mm-hmm.
about how written by two MDs, a father and son. For the life of me, I can't remember their names. It's a mouthful. It's a long thing, but
Yeah.
I'll have to shoot it to you in a text
For
later.
sure.
But it's all based around the relationship of the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone's probably heard different terms, the amygdala, it's fight or flight. It's what people have deemed like the lizard brain. All right, it's very reactionary. It sounds like the elephant in in that book. And then the
Yeah.
prefrontal cortex then is now it's reason, it's logical thinking, it's talking about how people and every decision that they make is rewarding one or the other. Okay, you satisfy like these cravings, like you binge watch, Cobra Kai on Netflix, which, by the way, great show. Uh, you binge watch Cobra Kai on Netflix, and that's rewarding the amygdala because it's something that you want. It's you're immediately satisfying, and that's what's being rewarded. Um, if you decide to go a different route, maybe you watch an episode, remove yourself, go outside, go for a walk, eat like real food, like you were saying. That's more rewarding to the prefrontal cortex. And it was talking about how the more you reward one as opposed to the other, just like if you're training a muscle, it grows and it takes a more dominant role. So people then find themselves in this, if I and granted, it's our society at this point where we're constantly scrolling, clicking, liking, whatever, instant gratification constantly, and it's very amygdala stimulating. and it rewards it and it grows. And then what happens is now it takes a more prominent role in your decision making and in your lifestyle. And so you continue to do these things even more so. And just like everything else, whether it's, you know, drugs or sugar or whatever, you know, the more you stimulate it, the more you need to get that same feeling. So it's more and more and more. So it was really just kind of a fascinating little thing I was reading. And then when you brought up the elephant rider, I was just like, this has to be like, it's got to be the
Yeah.
same thing. Um, yeah, dude. Like it's really cool, and I've actually been reading a lot and getting very much into how, you know, food. They're also starting to talk about same book, you know, different chapter or whatever. Food and like the gut and how like the gut health, and I think it's something that people very much overlook. And to be honest, I didn't know that much about until I started reading maybe, you know, 6-ish months ago.
Yeah.
But gut health is related to just your overall health and wellness. It's even been now linked to like depression and stuff like that. And I was just, that was nuts to me. I mean, so again, you probably know a little bit more about this, but is there stuff you do to help promote gut health, that prebiotic, probiotic, all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely what I term within Learn to Eat is like it's a more of a advanced concept because I
Sure.
want them to get very good at the basics.
Hmm.
But as you progress, like those may be the limiting factors, those little things that are keeping you from progressing faster or getting further. Maybe you hit a plateau, and it could be those little things like that are overlooked so much.
Hmm.
And so often, you know, people are. What's cool about the gut bacteria is that it's unique per person,
Hmm.
and some things may bother some people, some things may not. You know, we're so quick to say, like, it blows my mind, the gluten free thing. Like, if
Yeah.
you don't have an actual gluten allergy and it doesn't bother you, there's not really a reason you should just never eat gluten. It's not
Yeah.
going to affect you the same. Now, will it have long term side effects on someone who does have an allergy or maybe they have celiac disease? Hell yeah.
Hmm.
And that's their thing to navigate. But it goes into the gut bacteria, you know. Are you eating fermented foods? Like, I just tell people, I'm like, dude, start eating yogurt, and like you can find a million different kinds of kombucha at the store now. Like,
our believe it or not, our shop right now, like in the town over, has like a kombucha fridge, like
yeah,
on the way out. So like as
yeah,
you're like leaving and checking out, it's just like, oh yeah, let me just grab one of these.
it's yeah, and you know, I think that's great. And
Yeah.
there are, you know, foods like people don't understand. Not every pickle, but fermented pickles like shelf stable, like
Mhm.
those have probiotics. Or I love kimchi. Like that is one of my favorite foods. Kimchi has, you know, some people like
Relish.
sour, yeah, relish,
Sauerkraut. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sauerkraut. I'm
I
not a
was I was
sauerkraut
flip.
guy.
Oh really? No, I actually just got into it. Like I think it's really good.
Yeah, and I just tell people too, I'm like, just and making sure you eat some vegetables so that those things have something to eat. Like that's it. And it does. It goes into your mood. Like the valgus nerve is like right there, and that essentially is connected to a lot of your brain. That's a lot of
Hmm.
your mood disorders, your anxieties, depressions, your focus. Like if you have brain fog, you're probably not taking care of your gut health, and it's unhappy. Like if you're bloated all the time and you're either constipated or have diarrhea every single time you go to the bathroom, like something's not right.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely a sign of something.
yeah, but it plays into so much. And what's so cool and fascinating about what they're discovering is it's like so many of these things were brushed off as something else a
Hmm.
lot, and it or pinned on just one thing, and it comes from so many areas, like what you eat and how you move and your stress at work and this, and it's just I think probiotics are the coolest thing ever.
The more I read about
Taking
it, the more I'm like blown away by it. I was like, wow, like
Yeah,
I wish I had been paying attention to this for years.
yeah, and just taking like, you know, I don't personally take a probiotic now. I just try to get it from my food. But like, if you're someone who feels as if you're having a difficult time,
Mhm.
it's not hard to go find a good one. Typically, if you want the best possible, it's going to be like the refrigerated version.
Mhm.
So they are more alive per se because you know they're not like freeze dried to a
Yeah.
shelf stable.
Mhm.
And so because dude, supplement companies catch on to one way. I saw a probiotic corn chip the other day.
Stop.
And I'm like, okay, you're missing the point here. That's
That's like
not.
the hard seltzers that are now like infusing vitamin C or something. I was just like,
Yeah,
wait, like I guess kind of cool,
cool.
but like why? Like,
I don't know that I'm gonna try to get all my vitamin C
I can't.
from.
I would imagine that if you're drinking enough of those seltzers for that vitamin C to make a difference, you're probably falling asleep in a gutter somewhere.
Or you're not even absorbing it. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You're probably peeing it out before it even like takes
yeah,
part of the system.
at that point, you're not even getting it in your system. But no, man, and there's also too, um, a lot of people have gut damage in relation to that. So they may have something. They may It may not be Crohn's yet, but it may be
Mm.
similar to that, or they may have leaky gut syndrome, and that can be from maybe you do have an allergy and you just never figured it out. Like if you eat something and you feel like absolute crap afterwards, you should probably not eat that all the time.
That's oh
And
my god, yeah. That's something I've
yeah,
always told to like my clients. I was like, look, exercise is not supposed to hurt. So if you do something and you're just like, oh my god, that feels fucking terrible, don't do that. Like
yeah,
that's your body saying, no, we don't like this. We'll find
yeah.
another way.
Not today. Maybe
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
And so there's even there's so much science now that's based off of like case to case thing, or it's a subjective, you know, case study where, oh, this helped me, but there's no actual like scientific evidence of it. I'm starting to see where like, oh, there may be some weight to those things. It's just it's very hard to actually say, hey, yes,
Prove it, yeah.
this can be done in a lab and
Well,
proven.
it's correlation versus causation.
Right,
A
right.
lot of things are correlated, but it doesn't necessarily prove that one thing does, X, Y, Z.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But, I think there's something to be said from people's personal experiences. It might not work for you or me or, Joe down the street. But, it's always good to like have a conversation with someone and be like, hey man, like this worked for me. Like give it a shot.
I just tell people to try stuff. I'm like, but
Yeah.
you have to have the right reason behind trying something. If you're gonna go try, like I'm fascinated to learn more about the carnivore diet. I think that's really cool. I just want to learn more about it. And if I tell people, I'm like, if you're gonna try something like carnivore or keto or any of that, whatever, your reason behind doing it should be that I want to see if this does help me,
Sure.
not, oh, well, that's what everyone else is doing and it's going to help me lose weight. I'm going to do that. Like that's where you're starting
That's not
to.
a good reason. Yeah. That's actually one
Um,
I've been fascinated about because there are people, and first of all, there's zealots behind every diet that like
of
think
course,
it's like the greatest thing in the world.
yeah,
But the carnivore diet's been like it's picking up a little steam, and that to me, just on its basis, doesn't really make sense because well,
right.
aren't you missing out on a bunch of like micronutrients and stuff when you're skipping out on the vegetables and fruits and stuff? I mean, look, some people swear by it, and maybe it ends up being like a short term thing where you can do it and almost like clear the system, kind of lose a bunch of weight. Like maybe I personally don't understand how it could possibly be a long term thing. Just because, like I
Right.
said, I feel like you're missing out on so many things that you need.
Hmm.
But hey, I'll let someone else figure that out,
Yeah,
and I'll read about it somewhere in a book. But
I think that it gets taken in the wrong sense, and I believe that's what has happened with the ketogenic diet too. Is it got what's the word? They took it and made it mainstream
mm,
in the most irresponsible way. Like a real ketogenic diet is not butter, bacon, and cheese. It is moderate protein, high fat foods. You're still eating vegetables. Like
yeah,
vegetables are not counting in that carbohydrate. So like you're eating broccolis
mm,
and Brussels sprouts and leaves, and people are like, oh no, 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 it's only protein and fat, and I can just eat whatever I want. I'm like, that's not the
that
point.
can't possibly work.
It's not the point. And then with the carnivore diet, what I am seeing is actually beneficial. It's not carnivore in the sense of every meat goes.
Mhm,
It is you are eating high quality meats, so your grass fed, your wild caught, things of that nature.
sure.
You are also consuming what they call nose to tail, which means you're eating the organs too. So most people aren't
Okay.
doing that when they're chasing. And so the foods that we're getting the vitamins and minerals from, the plants, the fruits, and you can eat some fruits on a carnivore diet. It's just certain ones that they say are not whatever. Anyways, all of those things that we get from plants, you get a lot of that from organ meats because
Mhm.
the animals that you're eating ate those plants first and broke
Sure.
them down even further. So that's where they're missing the ball is
I
they're
was going to
just
say, but
eating
I would have to venture a guess and say like the average carnivore guy who's trying it out isn't
isn't
getting himself some beef liver.
they're not. And exactly that's the thing. And then so when you start to see people who are like, oh, this gave me this problem, or some people may be like, oh, it gave me scurvy because I wasn't eating citrus.
Well, yeah, man, because you ate steak for 6 months. Like,
You ate nothing but steak with 80-20 ground beef for every meal. And it's like, no, 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 you have to eat liver, you have to eat heart. And I bought some because what I am curious to think is that the benefits they're seeing from carnivore aren't that they're cutting things out, it's
mm,
that they're bringing organ meat in.
adding new things. You know what? I'm intrigued now. It's actually something that I've been meaning to try. I haven't really summed up the courage. You know what? At this point, like, I should just fucking do it. But like, yeah, I want to try like organ meat. I've heard always like the benefits. It's
Yeah.
clearly the most nutritious parts of the animal. I think liver, right? Liver being like the number
Liver
one.
is like a powerhouse. The people I know that are doing carnivore say they're like, no, like as ridiculous as it may sound, they're like, I can eat like they'll eat raw liver or even cook
It's,
it,
it's bold.
and they say that they say that it is extremely energizing. Like they're like, I get a rush off of eating it
Yeah.
because it's so one, it's really bioavailable because a lot of the stuff in there has already been broken down one time, so you
Okay.
can just straight in the system.
That makes sense.
And it's so dense in some of the vitamins that we don't get, the B vitamins, some vitamin A. Some people are low in iron. You're getting iron in there, and it's like a powerhouse of nutrients.
I was gonna say
And
it's like its own natural multivitamin.
yeah, and I bought some. I have some grass-fed liver in the freezer. I haven't done it yet because I know how strong the taste is. I've had fried liver, and
Okay.
I'm not a fan.
Mm.
So what I'm gonna do is take some. I've got some like sirloin
Okay.
steak that I'm gonna grind in a meat grinder with it and
There you
make like
go.
some meatballs or make burger patties and see if that changes the taste up a little bit. But I
Okay.
have done heart, so I had beef heart.
All right.
Um, it is probably the best intro organ meat in my opinion because it's very close to steak. It's very it's muscular.
Sure.
There was a hint of that like this is an organ taste to
It's
it.
creeping in the back of your head, kind of thing.
Yeah,
It tastes
yeah,
like steak, but it's not.
but it's not at all. And it's a little chewier. So like,
Yeah.
I think if you were to grind it up with like some ground beef, you wouldn't even know it was in there.
That's not a bad method though. I think you might be onto something. Yeah, grind it up,
Yeah,
make it to a patty, burger, make your own sausage, something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or
That's a
you're
good idea.
buying a big one too with other is that everyone's like, oh, it's expensive to eat that. And what I've been looking into, what they do is they're not eating T-bones for every meal like people
Yeah.
make popular. What they're doing is they go to local farmers or they go to a Whole Foods or whatever it may be, wherever you get your meat, and they're getting like the grass fed, grass finished, like
Mm.
stew meat. So you're getting like roast or like just chunks of meat that you just throw in and you cook it down. So
Mm.
all the fat, all of the tendon, all of that like liquefies, and you're getting all the collagen, you're getting all the healthy fats, you're getting all the protein, and it's cheap. So that's
Okay.
what people that are really doing carnivore diet are doing is buying like cheap stew meat
Uh
uh,
huh.
that's high quality, and they're eating organs. Um, you can also buy. I've been looking into it. I haven't done it yet. You can buy desecrated. I don't even know what that means, but that's what they call them. Desecrated
Sounds dark, man.
organ. Yeah, desecrated. Yeah, yeah, right. Desecrated organ capsules. So it's basically freeze dried, whatever. They grind it down to a powder. You can
Oh,
buy
so just
liver.
pop and
Yeah, just
go.
take a pop and go
Huh?
if you can't do
We eat
the
it.
actual organ
Yeah.
meat. Yeah,
Huh. That's pretty cool.
yeah,
You know what? I've actually I started this back in August just because I had a lot of free time. I wasn't teaching, obviously, and I actually started intermittent fasting.
yes,
And again, read some stuff. sounded like there was some benefits. Didn't seem terribly risky. I mean, honestly, my biggest risk was I was just like, oh, I might be hungry for a little bit. But
Can't eat breakfast.
yeah, exactly. Which is, to be honest, breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. However, I just convinced myself into saying like, well, I'll just have brunch every day. So, um, but I gotta say, I kind of love it, man. Like since then, I think I've dropped about 10 pounds. I haven't gotten like weaker or anything. Um, and they talk about how you wake up, you're clear. Like I don't feel and you can even like I've even had this conversation I've talked about with my fiance. Like I haven't really felt hungry, like to the point where like my stomach's gargling and it's like on my mind since I start. Like, other than the first week,
Yeah.
but like other than the first week, it's like I've adjusted, and now like I wake up. I think I stop eating at like 8 p.m. is kind of like my cap. Usually it's before then. I'm not really eating up until 8, so usually I'm done around 7. But like 8's kind of like my cap. And then I'm not usually eating again until like 11 or 11:30 or 12 the next day. And to be honest, it's like I look at the clock and I'm just like, oh, I'm supposed to eat now. And I've heard like the benefits, and whether I've heard people say that it facilitates fat burning. I've heard people argue against it. Whatever side's true, what it has proven to me is that one, it definitely helps restrict your calories because you're skipping an entire meal, and then so right there helps. But then they talk about the clarity that you have when you wake up, and I've talked about this with Racco. I get up at 3:55 every morning. My fiance gets up at like 4:40. We train at 5. Like I'm doing some work before then. We train before we go to work. We both work in the school system, so we want to just get it done, get it over with. Because I know spend the entire day, working with kids.
You're not going to want to do
I'm
it.
driving. I'm driving right by the gym and going right home.
Yeah.
So that was a very honest me decision. But I wake up, it doesn't really take me, like I'm not like that groggy. I don't really feel hungry anymore. And then just the benefit of like allowing your gut time to reset.
Yes.
And dude, I have to say it's one of those things I don't think I'll go back.
Yeah. I did it for 30 days. I committed. I was like, I'm going to do intermittent fasting for 30 days. It's like the bare minimum for me to say like whether something is useful.
Worth it. Yeah.
And what I noticed was, like you said, the first few days, you maybe be hungry, but
It's
I
an
got to the
adjustment.
point
Yeah.
where I was like, I could probably go longer than I was doing what you were, like stop at 8 and then pick back up at noon or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I could probably go longer than this and be fine. And, I wasn't training in a fasted state, so I would usually have to work out a little later.
Mhm.
Now that was something that I was like, oh, okay, like we'll see. Um, I love to eat breakfast, so that was the only thing that I missed.
Yeah.
But I just ate breakfast food at noon,
Yeah. Exactly. Brunch. Who doesn't love brunch?
and you're right. And it was the biggest thing I noticed was, like you said, the digestion. It was like my body had time to actually get everything out
Yeah.
before I put more food into it. Because before it was like eat, 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 and it never got to rest
Hmm.
and work. I mean, the stomach works in a resting state, and if you keep putting more food in it, it's just going to forget about the other stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, I noticed that first meal that I would eat, it felt like it digested into my body like that. Like my digestion was through the roof. I was
Hmm.
absorbing more. And I always made sure that first meal was like very dense in nutrients. I had, fruit, vegetables, bacon, and meat,
Yeah.
and all the good stuff. And
Exactly.
but there was no crash. There was no bloated feeling. It was just like, dude, that literally just got back into my body as soon as I ate it. So that was what I noticed as a really cool benefit to intermittent fast. I loved it, but I wanted to eat a little earlier, so I
Yeah.
just
No,
didn't.
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, dude. No, I just again, nutrition has never been my expertise. I've always, been the training part, and then I've always incorporated the nutrition because I know how important it actually is, possibly even more so. But yeah, dude, it was just something I wanted to try. When we had the quarantine, we weren't really going anywhere, so I was just like, hey, let me
Right.
just why not, right? So Yeah, dude, loved it, man. But so is there anything? I mean, dude, we've been doing this for like an hour. Is there anything else you want to talk about? You know, with your program, you know, want to
Yeah.
promote anything or anything else
Yeah,
you
man.
want to get out there?
I, I know earlier I was like, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. And so
That's the point,
what,
man. Have fun.
right. Just having fun, man. And learn to eat is growing. I'm actually taking time because I'm going back and reshooting the content
Mhm.
because I did it like bare minimum, my voice over a PowerPoint module. So I want to reshoot everything. I've gotten some feedback from two successful groups, and I'm going to push it until January before I do another launch. So I've given myself some time to work on those things. But in the meantime, I'm also doing podcasting as well. So I have the Wholesome Habit podcast, and very similar to Coach's Corner. Like I have a bunch of different coaches on, or people from different backgrounds, and even some previous clients.
Nice.
And I have people come in and give their insight, and really just like you're doing, you're creating a platform for people to share what they're going. You're bringing all the information. You're the connector, and that's what I'm doing with that podcast as well. Is here's some really awesome people and some insights and great conversations. It's entertaining. So
I
I've been
love it.
doing that. So that's on all streaming platforms. But I also have gotten back into writing. So like I like to not nonfiction or not fiction stuff, but more nonfiction,
Hmm.
actionable steps type writing stuff. So I'm getting back into that. I started a newsletter called Momentum, and really anything surrounding like picking up momentum in your health and your lifestyle and your work, like facing challenges. Just whenever I feel inspired, I write a post, and then it gets added to the email sequence. So,
That's awesome.
um, yeah, so I've started that to hopefully I want that to evolve into something bigger. So yeah, if anyone's interested in checking that out, that's a great newsletter. You get it twice a week, and just something to really light some fire under your ass and get you to do some stuff. Like we all need that. So,
Absolutely.
uh, and I'm actually getting the opportunity. Like I work all of this stuff from home. I have an opportunity to be the head coach at a new gym starting here in not in Memphis, but in Mississippi, so like 10 minutes away.
Okay.
So I'll have an office to run all of this, all the podcasts, all the writing, all the coaching. So that will be, it's called Grind Central Fitness. It's just a multi-purpose gym. We have
Mhm.
class, one-on-one, stuff like that. It's not a CrossFit gym. We won't call it
Okay.
that because that's not what it is. But yeah, I will be head coaching there and also running my nutrition coaching out of that. So other than learn to eat, that's what I do. And it's all out there, man. Like I do some. I also do some mentoring for. I went through a coaching program, and since this is Coach's Corner, this is a great place to
There
talk
we
about it.
go.
It's called Strong Coach, the Strong
Mhm.
Coach. And are you familiar with Barbell Shrugged?
Again, heard of it.
Yeah,
Don't know
yeah.
the inner workings, but yeah.
So yeah, that was a huge like podcast, and they still have it. But one of the guys, Mike Bledsoe, had branched off and did his own thing. He created a coaching program for coaches, basically to teach you how to actually make more money as a coach, to build your business. Because in what certification do you ever taught how to build a business?
Yeah.
None.
Never.
Um, Huge network there. I went through that program. It was pivotal in my coaching business and building what I have. But I stayed in it as a mentor. So I mentor people coming up through the program, and even have started taking on a few people for like business mentoring. So really just guidance and creating programs, putting stuff together. So I do that as well. I work with a few people one-on-one. It's not really something I talk too much about, but
Hey, it's so cool,
might as
man.
well. Yeah, dude.
It's
It's
important
just
stuff.
yeah, like I'm just having fun in so many different areas, and I think that's important for the people listening that aren't coaches, and the people that are coaches listening to this, is like start having fun with it, and everything comes to you. Like as long as you're
Yeah,
chasing the things
100%
that,
agree.
yeah, if you're chasing the things that are fun to you, I've chased a lot of things that I just was like not that passionate about,
Kind of
but it was,
lukewarm.
yeah, it was to make some money, and I always hated them. I would get on that session, or be typing out that programming and be like, dude, I am not enjoying this at all
Yeah,
right now. And of course, like it shows. Like the people don't become as passionate about it. Find the fun thing, nail it.
I love it, man. And you also got an Instagram too, right? You want to shout that out?
Yeah, I do have an Instagram. That's pretty much. I have all the other stuff, but I honestly pretty much just use Instagram.
Yeah,
You can find that. It's all lowercase. Coach underscore Blake underscore WHP, which stands for Wholesome Habit Project. That's just my umbrella of all these things that I do. So yeah, you can find me on there. Everything is linked for podcasts, all the good stuff. So Instagram's place to get to me. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's all I got.
that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it so much. This has been a lot of fun for me. I'm glad we got to reconnect a little bit. Like I said, we reached out. It was probably months ago. It might even be like over a year ago. And, we're just in different places. So I'm really happy for you. I'm glad you got all these things going on for you. Thank you. Thank you again for coming on. This was a nice little chat, and I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course. And I'd love to um, have. I think it would be really fun to do like a 3-person show with
Absolutely.
a three-way with Racco, and like
Yeah,
uh, and also have you on as well to talk about all the great things you do with strength and teaching, because that's a huge thing. Is I want everyone to be able to come to the podcast for something unique to them, and I want certain episodes to speak to them. So I think that would be awesome too.
Yeah, no, I totally understand and get it because that's the same thing. You're my first nutrition guy. Like,
Yeah,
I've had most of the time I've done a couple of these so far, and they've purely been with like strength training coaches, that kind of stuff. One guy did strongman and jujitsu, so a little out there,
yeah,
but but yeah, you're my first little tweak, and I'm totally like I want to expand this into something where we're bringing different people to the table because coach is a very general term. It can be coach anything.
yeah,
So yeah, dude, again, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing, and you know, best to you in the future, man.
yeah. Thank you for having me on and taking the time to do all this. And yeah, man, just keep it going.
All right, I'll see you around, man.
All right, dude.
Bye, everybody.